Hi, I'm Heather. I lead our Farnborough congregation, and I want to give you a finance update for the life of the church today. Now, we're in a tough season as a country. In the news, there's stories of petrol prices rising, the impact of Ukraine, and the cost of living going up. And that has impacted our finances as a church. It's not an impact we weren't expecting, and we prepared for it. But in February, our giving was about 10,000 under our budget. And our year-to-date figure is about £17,000 under budget. And this isn't a surprise for us at all. We had budgeted a deficit when we laid out our budget for 2022. And we knew that our spending, we were planning for our spending to be more than our income. And to navigate that, we have plans to sell a house that we own in Bracknell to cover that deficit that we are expecting. So we're in a bit of a wilderness season, aren't we, as a country, where resources are quite sparse. You've got cost of living going up, you've got petrol prices, the impact of Ukraine, energy prices going up as well. It can feel a little bit like a wilderness season where there's just not much resource. It doesn't feel like there's a huge amount of provision. But what I notice in the Bible is that God builds the church in wilderness seasons. In fact, the very first dwelling place that he created was in the middle of the wilderness in Exodus. And the Kerith Centre as well. When we built the Kerith Centre in Bracknell in the 1980s, it was in the middle of an economic recession, a season where resources were sparse and finances were tight. This is how we read in the Bible that he built the first church, the first sanctuary in the wilderness. Exodus 25 says this: "The Lord said to Moses, 'Speak to the people of Israel, that they take for me a contribution. Every man whose heart moves him, you shall receive the contribution for me. And this is the contribution that you shall receive: gold, silver and bronze, blue and purple and scarlet yarns, fine twined linen, goat's hair, tanned ram skins, goat skins, acacia woods, oil for the lamps, spices for the anointing oil and the fragrant incense, onyx stones and stones for setting for the ephod and the breastplate. And let them make a sanctuary that I may dwell in their midst.'" So we see God instructing them to build, out of all these amazing materials, a dwelling place, a sanctuary for him in the middle of the wilderness. And how does he do that? Well, he stirs the hearts of the people. And what I notice is the people get their resources from two different places. So firstly, some materials were available in the wilderness. He talks about acacia wood, bringing acacia wood to build the temple. And the acacia trees are trees and shrubs that are readily available kind of in the desert and in these barren places. They're kind of thorny, shrubby plants and trees. And that would have been readily available in that wilderness space. And actually, God is giving us resources that are readily available in this wilderness season. Perhaps you give regularly to the church. Are there resources that you could give that are available right now to you? Kind of the regular acacia wood. Can you give £5 more or £10 more in your regular giving? And then some of the resources were not available in the wilderness, in the desert. I don't know about you, but onyx stones and gold and silver, bronze, scarlet yarns. If ever I've been to kind of a barren land or a wilderness, I don't think I've ever seen any of those kind of materials lying around. And how God provided those was that he gave them to the Israelites prior to them entering the wilderness. He gave them to the Israelites through the Egyptians in the fertile land. He provided, the Egyptians provided silver and gold jewelry for the Israelites, fine clothing. And God gave them to the Israelites to bring to the temple for its building prior to the wilderness season. And perhaps you are in a position where you have resources available to you that God gave to you prior to this wilderness season. It might be shares or stocks or bonds or savings accounts. It might be that you received an inheritance from a will. And these items, these are kind of the expensive and the valuable items that went towards building the temple. You see, we all have a part to play in this. And what I love is that God is able to do far more than we can ask or imagine in wilderness seasons. The passage where the tabernacle is built ends with this: "The people bring much more than enough for doing the work that the Lord has commanded us to do. So Moses gave command, and word was proclaimed throughout the camp, 'Let no man or woman do anything more for the contribution for the sanctuary.' So the people were restrained from bringing, for the material they had was sufficient to do all the work and more." People had to be restrained in their giving. They gave too much. Actually, God has given all we need to build the temple, to build the church in the church already. He's given it to the people already. And imagine if we have to be restrained in our giving, because He goes beyond, does far more than we can ask or imagine. You see, I don't know how you're feeling about finances at the moment. Perhaps you're worried, perhaps you're anxious. But what I do know is that God so often uses darkness as a canvas to accentuate His light and His life.